Hey everyone, just wanted to stop by real quick for this podcast start. Hey everyone, just wanted to stop by real quick for this podcast starts and say you should like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me on all my social medias at John D. Klauser, literally the same name as the name that you subscribe to on this YouTube channel. So enjoy this clip, and I'll see you guys on the other side. I am sweating so much.
Watch your ball! Watch your ball!
Oh my God!
Watch your ball! Watch your ball!
What the fuck?
Welcome to the John Show with your host, John Doogie Klauser.
All right. What's going on, everyone? How are you? We are here on a new episode of the Juan Solo Show. This is episode 117 with your host, me, John D. Klauser, Juan D. Klauser, whichever one you like to go by or tell me by, or you can call me Wilmar. I think I've told you guys about that. Wilmar is actually my biological name. Can you think about that? Like, I'm like a William, a Wilbur, a William, like a Will. Like, I'd go by Will by short, like Wilmar or Will. I don't look like a Will at all. I'm just like, I'm so glad. That's like one of the few things about being adopted that I was like, whoo, totally got to bypass that one. That was a great one to miss. Don't have to be called Will. That's not my name. William. Like, there's none of that. There's no Bill. Sometimes people might call me Bill. They're like, how are you doing, Bill? Are you doing good, Bill? It's like, don't call me Bill, dude. Like, but but my anger is probably the level of a Bill. Most likely. It's like, oh man, guys, let me tell you, I've been, what's the word, cunty lately? I don't know why. Like, you would think I'd be less cunty because, you know what I think it is? Let me tell you. So, out of my years of going to therapy, one, it's expectations. I'm getting upset by expectations. But two, what it is that my brain for months has been so worried and putting so much energy into like figuring out my car situation and like trying to like, I'm like, okay, like, you know, because my car got totaled. And so then I had to borrow a car, then I had a rental car, then I had to borrow a car again, then I got my check, or I got the money from Progressive, and then I use that for a down payment, and then after that you have 30 day, like, or you have, you know, temp tags, and so then you have to then go and you have to pay your property tax, and you have to pay your what else? And like a sales tax. I guess you have to pay your sales tax because it was a new car. And then, like, you know, in retrospect, it really wasn't that much money, but like my mind has been so focused on getting all that stuff done, and all that stuff is done now, that my brain's like, well, what the fuck are we gonna be? What can we be upset about? What can we be like focusing on? Like, it's like, what is it? And so I think that's like the reason why like my stories and all that stuff, like doing a lot more film stuff, has been shooting up. Is because like my brain's like, well, fuck. Now what else am I gonna think? What else can we think about? Like, what else do we have to do? Like, because my brain's always in this mindset of like it has to always be trying to solve something, because it's always in this panic mode. It's always in this like survival, this fight or flight survival mode. It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's like sometimes, like, dude, you're chill the fuck out. Like, you're cool now. Like, it's okay. Like, all you gotta do is like, now you just gotta do your payments, do car payments. That's it. And like, they come out the same day that you get paid, so it's not even like really that big of a deal. It's almost like, it's like you don't even have to worry about it at all. It's an awesome thing to have. This is it. Like, just chill out. But it's like, and then what also is that like I was today, before this podcast started, I was getting everything ready. I had everything set up, and I'm like, kind of like, I'm okay. Yeah, I give myself like 15, 20 minutes to kind of chill out, focus. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to talk about? You think I'd have a better guide of what I wanted to? I literally have nothing written down for this podcast, nothing at all. But I was sitting there, and then like this rabbi, it was a passage, a new thing, or I don't know what you call it, a sermon, or, you know, just a thought, a rabbi thought, and it has to do with a lot of right now. What's going on is like ablar. It's hard for me to pronounce, but it's like a thing of like you have to think outside yourself. So you think of outside of people. You try to do things, and so it's a time of reflection because it's like it's 33 days past. I believe it's 33 days past Passover. So it now and then it's in the process of like because in 50 days past Passover. Hard to pronounce. That was a tongue twister. Then we have our what is it called? But it's then the prayer of like a prayer of forgiveness and a prayer of thought, and you kind of reflect on things, and it's getting the part of like Ram Kippur. I believe that's it's like getting prepared for that. But it's all things related to how Passovers come, and like we're showing respect towards the Jews that kind of just wandered around. Good time. But I digress. I feel like I went so far back to come back. I went so far out to come back. But really, it's like trying to think outside yourself and trying to think more of being a better person. And it's like it's been so hard for me lately. So hard. Like as I'm about there I'm about on the top of the soapbox, guys. So we're about in full sermon mode right now, but it's been such a difficult time thinking about it, trying to think outside myself, trying to like think and do better in that sense, because it's what Judaism isn't a religion, it's a way of life. Cultish. Wow, that sounds slightly cultish. It sounds like slightly like veganistic, and I shouldn't think of it like that because it's not really meant to be. It's like it's just a saying, John. It's like the sky is bright, the sky is beautiful, the day is gay, which means happy. Or some people think it's stupid. I don't know. Or it means you like to suck dick, or if you're like a girl, you like to eat pussy. I don't fucking know. It's fucking a weird thing. Don't know if I can say it. Don't know if I did. I meant it in like gays and happy. Like that was a great way. It wasn't so great. Like those are so much easier time. Not really easier times when you could use that. You could use gay for happy. Like, is that even bad? Like me describing it like that, saying it like that. Is that even wrong for me saying it like that? Is that in some way like someone going to dig this up or hear this and be offended by it? It's like I don't mean any offense by it. I don't care at all. Actually, in truth, in retrospect, if you want my opinion, like I think it's people who are upset by people who are gay. I think that's way gayer than, and I'm meaning it now, not in happy. I mean, gays and stupid is that I think is way gayer what they're doing than what people who are gay are doing. Someone who's gay is just having a moment with someone else, and they move on with their life, or they then they ask, hey, do you want to have ramen noodles, or do you want to go have a pizza, like something like that. The people who are against gay people are making signs, meaning of people who are also against gay people, kind of gay, and then they talking about how gay people's way of life is wrong, which is kind of gay to be doing. So, in retrospect, like, it is what it is. Yeah. It's the first drink. But yeah. Like I said, I had absolutely nothing written down this week because I've been so fucking, my mind has been so wrapped up in doing this short story and doing these getting ready the story for the short contest. And that's the thing too. Then like right before I started doing this podcast, I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm really writing the story for this one contest, but I also was like, well, if it's under 2,000 words, which it's going to be, because we're sitting at like 1,000, like what, 19, like 56 words right now. And when I'm thinking, I'm like, well, if I'm making this, and what if this, and maybe this is not the right way of thinking. I should think of it like, well, just apply for this, apply for all of them, and just use the same story. Or it's like, well, I'm like, well, fuck, maybe I should write a bunch of 2,000 word stories so I can like send different ones to different contests. But I'm like, well, then I'm going to forget like which contest was for which story versus like if I were to send out like this level of contests and I have them written down are all for this story. But I don't think, but I almost feel like that's almost double dipping because some of them, like, what if I got, I know this is a very far-fetched thing to think, but what if I won in two different ones? Or I not won, but I placed, and then, like, can I have that story be in two different places? Like, I don't think that's how that they want it to work. I think it's the story needs to be in one place. I don't know how this whole fucking works. I just want to get fucking published. But what's so great is like I enjoy this way of thinking way more because it's not it's more prop writing. You're just writing versus me like taking something that's like somewhat personal in my life and like molding it into a story. Now I'm just like, well, write something that's kind of like Euphoria. And I'm just like, all right, fuck yeah. And then just write a fucking weird fucking story watching a guy like overdose once. Boom. Retrospect, it wasn't really overdose. He G'd out. It was kind of crazy. So, when I was living in West Hollywood, I had a group of really good. I went to this gay gym, the gay gym. We're gonna talk about gay people. I fucking love gay people. I love people. I love them. I love them so much. You know what the truth? Like, one of my best friends is a gay guy, and he taught me how to dance. He taught me how to talk to women. He taught me how to be a better how to be a better partner for somebody. He taught me all these cool things. It's like, hey, dude, just do these things and you can be better. He's like, John, you need to have more self-confidence. Like, you're a good-looking guy. Like, you're put together. You're intelligent. Like, these things. Like, just be more intelligent. Just quit getting in your own way, kind of thing. And he's a great friend. And I love him to death for it. And I always owe him for things like that. That's the reason why him and I are so close. But we would go to clubs all the time. I would go with him, and it was so funny back then is that, if you're this one straight guy with a bunch of gay guys, and it was so weird because it was in that limbo stage where like people would like, even gay people would be like, that's so awesome that you're so open about being friends with like gay guys, and like, you guys hug and you guys like, cause like we would hug and then we'd kiss each other on the cheeks. I didn't give a fuck. Like, for me, it was like a brotherhood. It was just like a fucking frat. I didn't give a shit. And like, cause we'd shotgun beers. And then like, then like on New Year's, and I would turn over. I'm like, oh, well, there's just Jim and John fucking kissing each other. I don't go because they're fucking boyfriend and boyfriend. Like, they've been dating for 6 years. Like, of course. Like, or Pedro and Sam, like Pedro and Sam, like they had dated for like 6 years. And like, it's like, yeah, it was normal. It was like, to me, it was just like, oh, that's what a normal, healthy relationship looked like. It didn't matter if they were two guys. It didn't fucking matter. To me, that was one of the most healthiest relationships I ever saw. Some people would be like, oh my God, two gay people? Like, oh, but yeah, but for me, in my circumstance of it, like, seeing that was like healthy. You saw like how people like interacted with each other. You saw how like they communicated and fix problems and stuff like that. Like, like once like Pedro was like, yeah, me and Sam got in a fight, and but we talked about it. I'm like, oh, how did you guys talk about it? And like, he told me like, oh, like he's like, what you're doing right now is triggering me of why I went to therapy. So can we stop this for right now and come back to it when we can relax? And it was it. And I'm like, oh, that is actually a great way of communicating. Boom. But some people would be like, oh, the two gay guys, and they wouldn't want to be friends with them, and then they would not learn. And fuck, for me, I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah, I never gave a fuck. But I was living in a weird limbo time where it was still kind of weird if like you were a straight guy and you hung out with if you had gay friends, and like it was but in Los Angeles, like trans people were coming out, and like you would like, I would go, and I met a lot of trans people. And I have a lot of trans friends who, like, if I didn't tell you, or they didn't tell you, what the pronoun was, and I couldn't even say trans because that's rude, because their pronoun could have changed by now. Like, and this was like fucking almost like 10 years ago. So, was it? I'm 20. Yeah, it's like almost like 10 years ago, like 8 years ago, and like 8 to 10 years ago between that time frame. So like their pronouns and everything like that, because it wasn't as open back then. But even like in Los Angeles, what was open and what was like progressive back then was considered just like being open and being an open, at that time. Trans was the only big pronoun that was being used at that time. And if you didn't know that, if they never told you, or like, well, everyone was super open about it, but like, because like, the clubs and things I'd hang out in, and like I'd go to straight clubs, we'd go to gay bars, and like you'd go to like mixed ones where like different floors, like, so like there's like a straight club, there's a gay club, then there's like a mixed one, like up there, like, sometimes like, straight guys like trans women, or trans women like straight women, or like light women, and they, it's one of those things. Anyway, are biological females. I'm trying to be as progressive as possible, so like, apologize. I will, if I go forward and I say something. Hold on, I think it actually is this. I will fix my verbiage. I will fix my linguistics. But yeah, and but if you saw them, like, you'd be like, oh my God, that's a beautiful woman. I'm like, yeah, that used to be Mark. Like, I have one of my great friends used to grew. I don't even feel like, I don't know, am I dead naming? And I'm not trying to. I'm just telling you from when I knew him, when I went to film school, or when I knew her. That was wrong. When I first met her, I was in film school, and she went by he. And like, we would smoke pot, like come up with like film ideas, like write stories together, like come up with like plots. And like, he was one of she back then was he, whichever one you want to use, like helped me a lot with like finding structure and storytelling. And now, like, transitioned, and she's a beautiful woman. Beautiful. She's gorgeous, stunning, incredible. But if you didn't know that, you could not tell. And I feel like, and I'm not trying to like, I'm just telling you about how my situation, because I knew both sides. And is that even bad to say that? Like, can you as me? I'm a cis straight male, like a cis male, straight male. I guess that's the best terminology for it. Am I even allowed to say that? I'm like, oh yeah, I knew such and such before and after, like the transition. Like, is that the most kosher, proper way of saying it? Because for me, it's like, yeah, I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, if whatever you want to be it. Just tell me how you want. Just don't get mad. I'm like, I'm not trying, because in no way am I ever like, because there would be no way. Because I wouldn't want you to do it to me, because I'm as someone of color, but as light skinned, and there's certain way. If you didn't know me, I couldn't be. I can never be upset by someone who doesn't think that I look Hispanic, or doesn't know I'm like was born in Honduras, or my father's Egyptian and Greek. Like, I don't look like that all the time. To some people, I don't. Some people just look at me and they're like, oh, light skin. He's like, or he white skin. He looks almost as white as me. He's probably a white guy. He probably grew up in fucking Wisconsin. It's like, hell, I don't fucking know him. I don't fucking know what's it, John? Is that his name? Yeah. So I can't be upset by that. But just because I want to be upset doesn't mean someone else isn't. So I'm like, I don't want to use the wrong terminology, linguistics, all that stuff. So I did it all times, please, at any times. I think we all know this is a non-judgmental area, because this is all fun. We're just having, it's the Juan Solo Show, man. We're just having fun. But yeah, it for me is like always like that. The gay community, the queer community, the lesbian community, the bisexual, all of them. Great community. It's always been super open for me. But it was so funny because I love how it's like so open now. And I mean, I make, I'm like, hey, they make jokes to me about being straight. I make jokes about them and all the time. But it was so funny that back then, because they would look at me like, even my gay friends, like, we love it so much that you're so open. So I'm like, yeah, like, why would I give a shit like that you're gay? I'm like, I don't care. Like, I really don't care that, you're gay. Why? Like, that's the least things. Like, you're a great person. Like, like, you bought me dinner last night, and I'm like, hey, let me pay you back. You're like, no, fuck, don't worry about it. I'm like, that's what friends do. That's what we are. We're friends like that. And then we'll go to the club, like, I'll get you a drink. Boom, we'll get you back. And then, like, it was so great because we were such a great, we were like a frat community. Like, it was like 8 guys. And it was always like water drinks at the same time, we would always do like that. But anyway, so I'm telling you all this, like, to tell you I guess the overdose story or something like that. But it wasn't really like a fucking overdose story. So in the gay community, there's this thing called GHB, which is Eugean. And it's just like euphoria thing. Like, you can't drink on it. Like, because it's like, if you drink on it, it's like, if you drink one beer, it's like the equivalent of like drinking like 10 beers. That gets you fucked up really bad. So you just drink water. You just like, and you feel happy, and just, you feel loosey goosey. It's a basic, but like the thing is like, but if like women drink, it's the date rape drug. But if men take it, it doesn't do anything to you. It just makes you happy. And for me, it was just like, I would just talk more, and I would just go up there and I'd talk to women more. Because back then, like, when you go to the gay club, was also funny too. Is like, even though you'd hang out with your gay friends, and like they would have other gay friends, and like, oh, who's this? And I'm like, oh, I'm John. They're like, oh, like, John straight, like, don't, and they're like, because it was really funny because it was always like, hey, how are you? And it's like, oh yeah, and then like, oh yeah, this is my straight friend John, And like, that's how you'd introduce each other. And like, because like, you can clearly tell gay, because if you're going into a gay club, you're like, duh, like 98% of the people in there are gay. Like, and so, but what's also funny is like, you'd go and I would meet girls there, because it just happened, because like the gay friends would bring their girlfriends. And they would always be like, that's so awesome that you're so progressive, that you don't care about, you can be a straight guy and hang out with a bunch of gay guys. I'm like, again, like, why does this is so crazy. And this was just like 8 years ago, guys. This was just 8 years ago. So we've within between 8 to 10 years from like, we've grown leaps and bounds culturally, which is awesome. So it's funny to me. So to see all this like progressiveness, to see all this evolution of now it's spread across the whole United States. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. It's fucking about goddamn time. Because like, it was always just a normal thing. Like, I've always just been around. I've been around since like my early fucking 20s. Since I've been a fucking teenager, I've just always been around people who've been gay or trans and been open about it, and like have transitioned, and like, if you didn't know, you'd be like, fucking A, good for you. Like, fucking A, it's awesome. Because like, it's the same thing. Like, if I wore a nice fucking suit and people are like, damn, John, you fucking really cleaned up compared to what you normally look like. Yeah, well, fuck yeah. Same fucking thing. I'm all about compliments. Not gonna lie, pretty solid fucking podcast for being a guy who had absolutely nothing written down. Not one fucking thing. Not one. I had like a whole bunch of stuff written down from last week, and I almost was like, well, I'll fucking just do that again. But what should we do? I really enjoyed doing that. Like, what the things I Googled during the week. So I Googled a bunch of different shit. So one of my someone I went to high school with graduated with their master's degree just recently, like this past weekend, and she took her graduation pictures because she has a young boy with her father, the father, young boy, the stepmother, stuff like that, and they were doing it in front of this big building. I'm like, that's fucking interesting. What is that? And it's the Independence Temple. It's the Latter-day Saints, I believe. Latter-day Saints is part of like the Mormon church, and it's a very interesting thing. And that's the one cool thing about the Mormons, because they have so much fucking money that they can do they have these really cool buildings, but things you can't go into them. And I'm like, I would love to go in them and just to talk to the people. I would actually, that's what I could do that with the curiosity of like being a filmmaker. I'm like, what I should do is I should like. Because you could just go in and like, hey, like, what's up? My name is John D. Klauser. I'm just a filmmaker. And I would just love to be able to talk to you guys. Like, I just want to know about what you guys believe in, like how you got here. Have you always believed it? Were you born into it? Were you brought in? Like, were you like, like 30 and then brought into it? Like, what's this? Like, what's up? Because I think that's just fascinating. I think what people believe in religiously is so cool. I think it's so cool, and I think in retrospect, like, it's all the same. Like, we all believe the same fucking thing. We all want to be happy, rich, and then when we pass away, we want to like have eternal life with the people that we love. Like, I believe it. The retrospect down to it, if you really ask anybody of whatever religion they are, it's kind of what they want. That's what the main goal is. Be a good person. Get riches that God blesses upon you during like your life. And then when you pass away, that you'll then eventually be brought together with the people that you love. I think that's every fucking religion. So yeah, that's what I was like. So I was like, damn, this fucking church. But it's the Independent Temple. It's in Independence, Missouri. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Which is like Independence, Missouri is I believe that's when God comes back, or no, when Jesus comes back. He'll come back to Independence, Missouri, and then everyone will go there when the world ends. I believe that's how what the Mormons believe. But I'm kind of talking out of pocket on that one. It's a little bit, but I think there's a really cool documentary on YouTube that talks about like the whole belief of let's say Robert E. Lee. That's the guy. That's was that the head general of the Confederate Army during the Civil War. What's that guy's Ronnie? What was the guy's name? Who founded Mormon Church, Mormon religion? Joseph Smith here. Doesn't it just sound like a Brit? Like, doesn't it? Joseph Smith here. I'm just, I was just wondering, I was just walking by and I saw you had a chimney. Just want to know if you need to be cleaned. That's probably the worst British accent ever. Well, that's okay because there's no, good God. You would think I was like wasted. I'm like, I'm not wasted. I'm just so fucking tired. And after I get done with this, I have to write like, granted, it's only 300 words, so it's really not that bad. It's like a paragraph. It's really not that fucking hard. It's like 10 sentences, maybe at most, maybe. It seems like a lot less. It's a lot more than 10 sentences. But yeah, this guy is a fucking turd. But he was like 13 when he made the religion. Anyway, not gonna talk shit on it. So that's one of the things I looked up. Holy fuck! So if you Google wrestler flip paralyzed into Google, and then you go in the images, and the second image is like an indie, and it'll say indie wrestler lands on head. Bro, it is one of those craziest fucking videos you ever see, because this guy, these two guys were up on the top turnbuckle, and one of them, like, because the whole thing, it's scripted to the point where like they know there's they know the winner who it is, but all the stuff in the middle of it, like, that's all, like, they do their own choreographs. So the guy like punched him, and the guy then landed on the ground. Like, he got the guy who's gonna the guy who's like, if he was like here, like if that was the guy's back, he fell down like that onto the mat, and he was laying there, and the guy on the top rope was supposed to then do like a flip and then like land on him. Well, anyway, so he did the flip and then like landed on his neck, and his neck like basically touched the back of his fucking ass. And you've never seen anyone like coordinate upon themselves, basically flatline into the, like, just fall into themselves from like the ass. Oh, dude, this is so fucking insane. And he instantly is fucking paralyzed. You can tell he's paralyzed. And then somehow he kicks out. The guy goes, he's like, well, everyone's like, oh fuck, holy shit. oh, that's my timer. And then I was like, holy shit. Well, anyway, just watch it. It's fucking insane, guys. I probably shouldn't have told you guys the paralyzed part because that was like the most craziest thing. But you'll see it and you'll be shocked. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next episode. All right. Bye.